I should have known better than to trust my mother's tears. My name is Hazel, and 3 years ago I made the biggest mistake of my life. I believed my family actually cared about me. I was 32, had a decent job in HR, my own apartment, and was finally dating someone who might actually stick around. Then Mom called with that voice she uses when she wants something. Hazel, honey, we need to talk about Grandma Ella. I found myself sitting in Mom's pristine living room the next day, watching her dab at her eyes with a tissue that somehow never smudged her makeup. Dad sat beside her, nodding gravely while my Aunt Cassandra perched on the edge of the couch like a vulture. She's getting worse, Mom said, her voice breaking just right. The doctors say she can't live alone anymore. We're all so busy with work, and you know how she is with strangers. She needs family, Cassandra added, leaning forward. Someone who really cares. I looked between them. What are you asking me to do? Move in with her, Dad said quietly, just temporarily, until we can figure out a long-term solution. I have a job, a life. We know it's a huge sacrifice, Mom said, reaching for my hand. But you're the only one she really trusts. And Hazel. She paused, glancing at Dad and Cassandra. We've been talking. When the time comes when she's gone, the house should go to whoever took care of her. It's only fair. My heart skipped. Grandma Ella's house was worth at least $400,000. In this market, maybe more. You mean that? I asked. Of course, Cassandra said. Palmer and I have our own homes. We don't need it, but you've always loved that place. I had. Every summer as a kid, every holiday. It was the only place in our family that felt like home. Think about it, Dad said. You'd be set for life. Your own house, paid off. No more rent, no more worrying about money. I should have asked for it in writing, should have demanded details, should have noticed how they all exchanged glances when they thought I wasn't looking. Instead, I quit my job 2 weeks later. The moving truck pulled up to Grandma's house on a gray October morning. The Victorian sat on a tree-lined street like something from a postcard, all gingerbread trim and wraparound porches. I dreamed of living here since I was 8 years old. You sure about this? My friend Summer asked, helping me carry boxes up the front steps. It's a big commitment. It's temporary, I said, fumbling with the key, and it's the right thing to do. Summer gave me a look. Since when do you trust your mother's promises? Before I could answer, the front door opened. Grandma Ella stood there in her faded blue robe, looking smaller than I remembered. Her silver hair was uncombed, and there was a stain on her sleeve. Hazel, she said, squinting at me. What are you doing here? I'm moving in, Grandma, remember, to help take care of you. She stared at me for a long moment, then stepped aside. Nobody told me. Of course they hadn't. The first month was harder than I'd expected. Grandma had good days and bad days, and I never knew which I'd wake up to. Some mornings she'd make coffee and ask about my job, forgetting I'd quit. Other days she'd wander the house at 3 a.m., looking for her long-dead husband. Mom and Cassandra visited every Sunday, bringing flowers and speaking in those careful, loud voices people use with the elderly. They'd stay exactly 1 hour, then leave with promises to call soon. How's our little caregiver? Cassandra asked one Sunday, patting my shoulder like I was a pet. You're such a saint, giving up everything for family. It's what family does, I said. Of course it is, Mom agreed. And don't worry, honey. This sacrifice won't go unnoticed. When the time comes, you'll be taken care of. They left that day with more flowers than usual, and I found myself standing at the window, watching their cars disappear down the street. Something in Mom's tone had felt different, rehearsed. That night, I was cleaning up after dinner when Grandma shuffled into the kitchen. She moved slowly to the sink, staring out at the backyard. They think I don't hear them, she said quietly. Who, Grandma? She turned to look at me, and for a moment her eyes were completely clear, sharp, the way they used to be when I was little and she'd catch me sneaking cookies. Your mother and that sister of hers. They think I'm too far gone to understand. She reached out and touched my cheek. But I see more than they know, and so should you. Before I could ask what she meant, the fog rolled back over her eyes. She patted my hand absently and shuffled back to her room, leaving me alone with a chill that had nothing to do with the October wind rattling the windows. The days blurred together after that. Wake up, help Grandma shower, make breakfast, clean up the mess from whatever she'd gotten into during the night. Repeat. My old life felt like something that had happened to someone else. I miss you, Summer said during one of our increasingly rare phone calls. When's the last time you left that house? I went to the grocery store yesterday. That doesn't count. I mean, really left. Had fun. Remembered you're a human being. I looked around the kitchen at the pill organizers lined up on the counter, the baby monitor I'd installed so I could hear if Grandma fell during the night. I can't just leave her. For a few hours? Come on, Hazel. Your mom could watch her for one evening. I almost laughed. Mom's last visit had lasted exactly 45 minutes. She'd spent most of it on her phone, texting about some charity luncheon. I have to go, I said. She's calling for me. It wasn't entirely a lie. Grandma was always calling for someone, sometimes me, sometimes her dead husband, sometimes her mother who'd been gone for 30 years. After I hung up, I found myself wandering through the house. It was too quiet, too big for just the two of us. I ended up in the study, a room Grandma rarely used anymore. The desk was covered in dust, old bills scattered across the surface. I started organizing, mostly to have something to do. That's when I found the shoebox shoved behind a stack of photo albums. Inside were letters, dozens of them tied with faded ribbon. The return addresses made my stomach clench, collection agencies, banks, lawyers, all from about 20 years ago. I untied the ribbon with shaking hands. Final notice. Your account is 90 days past due. We regret to inform you that your mortgage payment. Legal action will be taken if payment is not received. Every letter was addressed to Grandma, every single one, and scattered between the official notices were handwritten notes on expensive stationery. Mom, I know things are tight, but we really need help with Cassandra's tuition. You know how important her education is. The house needs a new roof anyway. What's another loan? Don't be dramatic. It's just money, all in Mom's handwriting. I sat there on the dusty floor, reading letter after letter. Grandma had mortgaged and remortgaged this house to pay for Mom and Cassandra's college, their weddings, their down payments on their first homes. She'd nearly lost everything, and they'd called her dramatic for worrying about it. What are you doing in here? I spun around. Grandma stood in the doorway, more alert than I'd seen her in weeks. I was just organizing, I said, scrambling to put the letters back. Those are private. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. No. She walked over and sat heavily in the desk chair. Maybe it's time you knew. She picked up one of the letters, squinting at it. They took everything, every penny I'd saved, every bit of equity in this house. And when I couldn't give any more, when there was nothing left to take, they stopped calling. Grandma, until I got sick. Her laugh was bitter. Funny how family remembers you exist when you're dying. Before I could respond, the front door slammed. Voices echoed from the living room, Mom and Cassandra, earlier than usual. We should check on them, Cassandra was saying. Make sure everything's going smoothly. Hazel's got it handled, Mom replied. She's always been good at taking care of things. I started to get up, but Grandma grabbed my wrist. Her grip was surprisingly strong. Listen, she whispered. Realtor thinks we could get at least 450 in this market, Cassandra continued. Maybe more if we stage it right. We'll need to clear out all this old furniture first. Most of it's probably worthless anyway. My blood went cold. I looked at Grandma, whose eyes had gone sharp again. The baby monitor, she whispered, pointing to the small device on the bookshelf. The one I'd installed to keep track of her at night. The one that was apparently picking up their conversation from the living room. 30 days should be plenty of time for Hazel to find somewhere else, Mom was saying. She's resourceful. What if she makes a fuss? Cassandra asked. About what? We never promised her anything in writing. It was just talk, encouragement to keep her motivated. Their laughter crackled through the monitor's speaker. She still believes us, Cassandra said. After all these years, she still thinks we actually care about her feelings. Well, she's always been naive, Mom replied. Remember when she thought we'd help pay for her college, or when she expected us to visit during her appendectomy? More laughter. I stared at the monitor, my hands shaking. 3 years. 3 years of my life, my career, my relationship, my friendships, all for nothing. Turn it off, Grandma said quietly, but I couldn't move. I sat there listening to them plan my eviction, my humiliation, my complete destruction, and all I could think was how perfectly their voices carried through that little plastic speaker, how clearly it was recording every single word. I grabbed my phone and hit record just as Mom's voice came through the monitor again. The key is making sure she doesn't suspect anything until it's too late, Mom said. Keep praising her sacrifice, keep promising her the house. She'll stay right where we need her. What about when Ella dies? Cassandra asked. Won't Hazel expect to inherit? That's the beauty of it. There's no will leaving her anything. The house goes to me as next of kin. We sell it immediately, and Hazel gets whatever sob story we decide to give her. My phone screen showed the recording timer ticking upward. 30 seconds, 45. She gave up everything, Cassandra said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. Her job, her boyfriend, her whole life, for nothing. She made her choice, Mom replied. Nobody forced her to be such a martyr. Still, don't you feel a little bad? Bad. Cassandra, she's getting free room and board while she figures out what to do with her pathetic life. We're doing her a favor. 1 minute, 2 minutes. I kept recording. What if she tries to fight us legally? Cassandra asked. With what money? She's been unemployed for 3 years. She can't afford a lawyer, and she has no proof we promised her anything. It's her word against ours. And who's going to believe the spinster daughter over 2 successful businesswomen? Cassandra added. They both laughed again, that same cruel sound that made my stomach turn. Besides, Mom continued, by the time Ella's gone, Hazel will be so broken down from caregiving that she won't have any fight left in her. She'll just take whatever we give her and be grateful. Speaking of which, we should probably go check on them, keep up appearances. I heard footsteps heading toward the study. I shoved the phone in my pocket and grabbed Grandma's arm. Can you pretend to be confused? I whispered urgently. She nodded, her eyes still sharp, but her expression shifting to the vacant stare I'd grown used to. Hazel? Mom's voice called out. Where are you, honey? In here, I called back, my voice somehow steady. Just helping Grandma organize some old papers. Mom and Cassandra appeared in the doorway. Mom's face was all concern and warmth, the same expression she had worn when she convinced me to move in. How's our patient today? She asked, walking over to pat Grandma's shoulder. Who are you? Grandma asked right on cue. It's Palmer, Mom, your daughter. Grandma stared at her blankly. I don't have a daughter named Palmer. Cassandra shot Mom a look. She's getting worse. The doctor said this might happen, I said. Good days and bad days. Well, we can't stay long, Mom said. Just wanted to check in. You're doing such wonderful work here, Hazel. We're so proud of you. It's what family does, I said, the same words I'd used 100 times before, but now they tasted like ash. Exactly, Cassandra said, and family takes care of family. You'll see. After they left, I sat in the study with Grandma, both of us silent. The baby monitor crackled with the sound of car doors slamming, engines starting. How long have you known? I asked. Known what? That they were planning this, that they never intended to give me the house. Grandma was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was clear and strong. I've known Palmer since she was born. She's never given anyone anything unless she got more in return. She looked at me. But I hoped I was wrong. I hoped she'd change. She hasn't. No, she hasn't. I pulled out my phone and played back the recording. Grandma listened without expression as her daughter and sister discussed my destruction like they were planning a dinner party. What are you going to do? She asked when it finished. I don't know yet. I do. Grandma stood up steadier than I'd seen her in months. We're going to make sure they don't win. Grandma, you don't understand. They're right about one thing. I can't afford to fight them. I have no money, no job, no proof of their promises. You have that recording. It's not enough. They'll say I manipulated you, that you're not competent to make decisions. Grandma walked to the window, looking out at the garden she had tended for 50 years. There's something I need to tell you, she said, about my will. My heart stopped. You have a will. Of course I have a will. I'm not stupid despite what they think. She turned back to me. But it's old, from before I understood what Palmer really was. What does it say? Everything goes to her. The house, my savings, everything. The room spun. Then we can change it. Can we? Are you able to make legal decisions? Grandma's smile was sharp as a blade. Oh, honey, I'm a lot more competent than any of them realize. The question is, are you ready to stop being their victim? I looked at my phone, at the recording that proved everything I'd suspected. 3 years of my life wasted on people who saw me as nothing more than free labor. What do we need to do? First, we need a lawyer, someone Palmer doesn't know, someone who won't be influenced by her money or her connections. I know someone, I said, remembering Carter, the lawyer who'd handled my lease dispute last year. He'd been kind, thorough, and most importantly, he'd worked with people who couldn't afford much. Good. Call him tomorrow. Tell him we need to discuss updating my estate planning. What about Mom and Cassandra? They'll get suspicious if we start acting differently. Grandma's eyes glittered. Let me worry about that. I've been playing confused for their benefit. Time to see how good an actress I really am. That night I lay in bed listening to the house settle around me. For the first time in 3 years, I felt something other than exhaustion and resignation. I felt dangerous. Carter's office was nothing like the sterile corporate law firms Mom and Dad used. Books were stacked everywhere, and his desk looked like a paper tornado had hit it. But his eyes were kind when he shook my hand. Hazel, good to see you again, and you must be Mrs. Burke. Grandma had insisted on wearing her best dress and pearls. She looked every inch the sharp woman she'd once been. Thank you for seeing us on such short notice, she said, settling into the chair across from his desk. Not a problem. You mentioned wanting to update your will? I'd told him the basics over the phone, that Grandma wanted to make changes, that there might be family complications. I hadn't mentioned the recording or what we'd overheard. My current will leaves everything to my daughter, Palmer, Grandma said. I want to change that. Carter pulled out a legal pad. What changes did you have in mind? I want everything to go to Hazel, the house, my accounts, everything. I see. And Palmer, how do you think she'll react to this change? Grandma and I exchanged the glances. She won't be happy, I said. That's putting it mildly, Grandma added. She's been counting on inheriting for years. Carter nodded. I have to ask, are you making this decision of your own free will, Mrs. Burke? No one is pressuring you or influencing you in any way? Young man, I may be old, but I'm not senile. This is entirely my decision. Good. I also need to establish your mental competency for the record. Would you be willing to undergo a brief evaluation with a court-approved psychiatrist? Of course. Carter made notes. Now, given what you've told me about potential family conflict, I'd recommend we take some additional precautions. Video the signing, have multiple witnesses, maybe even a second psychiatric evaluation closer to the signing date. Whatever it takes, Grandma said. There's one more thing, I said, pulling out my phone. We have evidence that Palmer has been misleading about her intentions. I played the recording. Carter listened without interruption, his expression growing more serious with each word. This is quite damning, he said when it finished. It clearly shows intent to defraud you of care under false pretenses. However, I should warn you, family members often contest wills, especially when there's this much money involved. Are you prepared for a legal battle? Let them try, Grandma said. I have documentation going back 20 years of how they've treated me. What kind of documentation? I thought of the shoebox full of letters, financial records, correspondence, evidence of how they've exploited her in the past. Carter leaned back in his chair. This is more complex than a simple will change. We're looking at potential elder abuse, financial exploitation, fraud. Mrs. Burke, I want to be very clear. If we move forward with this, your family will likely never forgive you. They've never cared about me anyway, Grandma said quietly. At least this way, someone who actually sacrificed for me gets something in return. All right then, let's get started. We spent the next 2 hours going over details. Carter explained how we'd structure the will to make it as bulletproof as possible. He scheduled the psychiatric evaluation for the following week and arranged for the formal signing to happen at his office with multiple witnesses. One last thing, he said as we prepared to leave. Don't change your behavior at home. If Palmer suspects something, she might try to have you declared incompetent before we can finalize everything. Don't worry, Grandma said. I've been playing their game for years. I can keep it up a little longer. On the drive home, Grandma stared out the window. You know there's no going back after this, she said. I know. They'll hate you, both of us. They already do. They just hide it better. When we got home, Mom's car was in the driveway. Shit, I muttered. Language, Grandma said, but she was smiling. Remember, I'm confused and you're devoted. Mom was pacing the living room when we walked in. Where have you been? She demanded. I've been here for an hour. Doctor's appointment, I said. I told you about it last week. No, you didn't. I left a message on your voicemail. Mom's eyes narrowed. What kind of doctor's appointment? Routine checkup, Grandma said right on cue, though I don't remember going anywhere. See, I said. She gets confused about time. The doctor says it's normal. What doctor? I should have been consulted. Dr. Martinez, her primary care physician, the same one she's been seeing for 10 years. Mom relaxed slightly. She knew Dr. Martinez had met him during one of her brief hospital visits when Grandma had pneumonia. Well, next time I want to be informed beforehand. I am her daughter. Of course, I'm sorry. But Mom wasn't done. She walked around the living room, touching things, moving objects slightly, like she was already cataloging what she'd sell. Has anyone else been by? Any visitors? Just the usual. The mailman, the grocery delivery guy? No one else? No strangers asking questions? My heart hammered. What kind of questions? I don't know. Just if anyone comes around asking about Mom's finances or her will or anything like that, you call me immediately. There are people who prey on elderly women, try to convince them to change their wills. That's terrible, I said. Who would do something like that? You'd be surprised. Family members, caregivers, anyone with access. Her eyes fixed on mine. Anyone who might think they deserve something they're not entitled to. The threat was clear. I forced myself to look confused and a little hurt. I would never, of course not, honey. I'm just saying, be careful. Watch out for people trying to take advantage. After she left, Grandma and I sat in the kitchen, both of us shaken. She knows something, I said. Maybe. Or maybe she's just paranoid. Grandma reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Either way, we're committed now. That night my phone rang. Summer's name appeared on the screen. Hey, stranger, she said when I answered. I was thinking about you today. How are you holding up? For the first time in months, I smiled. Actually, I think things might be looking up. Really? What's changed? I looked toward Grandma's room, where I could hear her moving around, probably reading one of her mystery novels. Let's just say I'm finally learning to play the game. Grandma died on a Tuesday morning in March, 3 weeks after we'd signed the new will. I found her in her bed, peaceful, like she just drifted off. The hospice nurse said it was exactly how these things should go. No pain, no struggle, just sleep. I called Mom first, like a dutiful daughter should. Oh, God, she said, and for a moment her grief sounded real. I'll be right there. She arrived within the hour, Cassandra right behind her. They swept into the house like a storm system, all tears and dramatic gestures. My poor mother, Mom sobbed, throwing herself across Grandma's bed. She looked so peaceful. She was ready, I said quietly. She told me yesterday that she was tired. You were with her at the end? Cassandra asked. She passed in her sleep. I checked on her this morning and she was gone. More tears, more theatrics, but I caught the look that passed between them when they thought I wasn't watching. Relief mixed with anticipation. The funeral was 3 days later. The church was packed. Grandma had lived in this town for 50 years and everyone knew her. Mom and Cassandra held court at the front, accepting condolences like they were the grieving daughters who'd been by her side all along. She was so lucky to have family who cared, Mrs. Peterson from down the street said to Mom. Not everyone gets that kind of devotion. We did what we could, Mom replied, dabbing at her eyes. Though really, Hazel deserves the credit. She gave up everything to be here. Such a good granddaughter, Mrs. Peterson said, patting my arm. Your grandmother talked about you all the time, said you were the light of her life. I managed to smile and nod, but inside I was screaming. Where had all these people been when Grandma was alive and lonely, when I was drowning in isolation, caring for her by myself? After the service, people came back to the house. Mom and Cassandra played hostess, serving coffee and accepting casseroles like they lived there. I watched them move through Grandma's rooms, touching her things, making mental inventories. Hazel, Cassandra cornered me in the kitchen. We need to talk about practical matters. I know it's hard to think about right now, but there are decisions to make. What kind of decisions? Well, the house for one thing, and all of Mom's belongings. We'll need to sort through everything, decide what to keep and what to donate. Don't you think we should wait until after the will reading? Cassandra's smile was patronizing. Honey, we all know what the will says. Mom never changed it from when Dad died. Everything comes to Palmer as the eldest daughter. Still, shouldn't we wait to be sure? Of course, if that makes you feel better. But in the meantime, you should probably start thinking about where you want to live. This place will need to be cleared out pretty quickly once we put it on the market. My brother Landon appeared at my elbow. I hadn't seen him approach. Market, he said. You're selling Grandma's house? Well, yes, Cassandra said, looking flustered. I mean, eventually. Palmer will inherit it, but she doesn't need another house. Seems pretty fast, Landon said. She's not even buried yet. We're just being practical, Mom said, joining our little group. The market is good right now. No point in letting the house sit empty. What about Hazel? Landon asked. She's been living here for 3 years. Hazel will be fine, Mom said, putting her arm around me. She's young, she's capable. This might be just the push she needs to get back out there, rebuild her career. With what money? Landon pressed. She's been out of work for 3 years taking care of Grandma. She'll figure it out, Cassandra said. She always does. Landon looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes I hadn't expected. Anger. Real, genuine anger on my behalf. That's pretty cold, even for you two, he said. Landon, Mom's voice carried a warning. This isn't the time or place. When is the time? When you've already sold the house and left Hazel homeless? Nobody's leaving anyone homeless, Mom snapped. Hazel knew this was temporary. Did she? Because I remember you promising her the house if she took care of Grandma. The room went dead quiet. Mom and Cassandra exchanged panicked looks. That was just... We were just trying to make her feel appreciated, Cassandra stammered. So you lied to her. We didn't lie, Mom said. We just encouraged her. By promising her something you never intended to give her. Landon, please, I said, playing my part. It's okay, I understand. But Landon wasn't backing down. No, it's not okay. It's fucked up, and you both know it. He turned to me. Hazel, I need to talk to you, privately. We stepped out onto the back porch away from the crowd. Tell me you have a plan, he said quietly. What do you mean? I mean, tell me you're not just going to let them destroy you. Tell me you have something, anything to fight back with. I looked through the window at Mom and Cassandra, who were watching us with barely concealed anxiety. The will reading is tomorrow, I said. And maybe they don't know Grandma as well as they think they do? Landon's eyes widened. She changed it? I can't say anything yet, but Landon, after tomorrow things are going to get ugly, really ugly. Are you prepared for that? He was quiet for a long moment, looking out at Grandma's garden. They've treated you like shit your whole life, he said finally, and I let them. I was too much of a coward to stand up to them, so I just stayed away. But I'm done with that. It might mean choosing sides. I chose my side the day you moved in here to take care of the grandmother they couldn't be bothered to visit. That evening, after everyone left, I found an envelope on the kitchen counter. My name was written on it in Grandma's shaky handwriting. Inside was a single sheet of paper with 4 words, "Don't let them win," and underneath a phone number I didn't recognize. I dialed it. Hazel? The voice was unfamiliar. This is Janet Morrison. I was your grandmother's friend from church. She asked me to call you after she was gone. I don't understand. She wanted you to know that she saw everything, the way they treated you, the way they treated her, and she wanted you to know that tomorrow justice gets served. The line went dead. I sat in Grandma's kitchen surrounded by the casserole dishes and sympathy cards, and for the first time since she died, I smiled. Tomorrow was going to be very interesting. Carter's conference room felt like a courtroom. Mom and Cassandra sat on one side of the long table, whispering to each other and checking their phones. Dad slouched in his chair, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. Landon sat next to me, which seemed to annoy Mom. Thank you all for coming, Carter said, settling into his chair with a thick folder. I know this is a difficult time. Let's just get this over with, Cassandra said. We all know what Mom's will says. Actually, Carter said, that's why we're here. Mrs. Burke made some changes to her will recently. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. What kind of changes? Mom asked, her voice tight. Significant ones. But before we get to that, I need to read you something Mrs. Burke wrote specifically for this moment. Carter pulled out a handwritten letter. Even from across the table, I could see Grandma's careful script. To my family, he began reading. If you're hearing this, it means I'm gone and you're all gathered to see what you can get from my death. Palmer and Cassandra, I know you're expecting to inherit my house and my money. You've been counting on it for years, haven't you? Mom's face went white. This is ridiculous. She wasn't competent to. Please let me finish, Carter said firmly. I want you to know that I heard everything. Every conversation you thought I was too senile to understand. Every plan you made behind my back. Every cruel thing you said about Hazel, who gave up her entire life to care for me, while you couldn't be bothered to visit for more than an hour at a time. Cassandra started to stand. We don't have to listen to this. Actually, you do, Carter said. It's part of the legal record. Palmer, you borrowed over $200,000 from me over the years. Money for your education, your wedding, your house, your children's expenses. You never paid back a penny. When I needed help, when I was struggling financially because of your debts, where were you? That's not fair, Mom said, but her voice was shaking. That was different. That was family helping family. And Cassandra, Carter continued reading, you borrowed almost as much. Both of you promised to pay me back when things got better. Things got better for you, but I never saw a dime. Instead, you convinced me to take out loans against my house to keep helping you. You nearly cost me my home. She's lying, Cassandra said. She wanted to help us. She offered. Carter set down the letter and pulled out a manila folder. Actually, I have documentation of every loan, every request, every promise to repay. Mrs. Burke kept meticulous records. He spread photocopies across the table, bank statements, loan applications, handwritten IOUs that Mom and Cassandra had signed years ago. This is harassment, Mom said. She was a bitter old woman who what? Landon spoke for the first time. Who loved you anyway? Who kept giving you money even when she couldn't afford it? Stay out of this, Landon, Cassandra snapped. This doesn't concern you. The hell it doesn't. I'm watching you destroy the one person in this family who actually has a heart. Carter cleared his throat. There's more to the letter. Mrs. Burke continues, the only person who truly cared for me in my final years was Hazel. She sacrificed her career, her relationships, her future to make sure I wasn't alone. She never asked for anything in return. She never made me feel like a burden. She loved me when the rest of you saw me as nothing but a source of money. I felt tears starting, but I blinked them back. This wasn't over yet. Therefore, Carter continued, I am leaving my entire estate, my house, my savings, my investments, everything, to my granddaughter Hazel. She has earned it through 3 years of devoted care and genuine love. The silence was deafening. Then Mom exploded. This is fraud, she screamed, jumping to her feet. She was senile. She didn't know what she was doing. Actually, Carter said calmly, Mrs. Burke underwent 2 separate psychiatric evaluations to establish her competency. Both doctors found her to be of sound mind and fully capable of making legal decisions. We'll contest this, Cassandra said. We'll take it to court. That's your right, but I should warn you, the will is ironclad. We have video documentation of the signing, multiple witnesses, medical evaluations, and extensive evidence of Mrs. Burke's reasoning. What evidence? Dad asked quietly. Carter smiled. I'm glad you asked. He pulled out a small digital recorder and set it on the table. Mrs. Burke asked me to play this if anyone questioned her decision. He pressed play, and suddenly the room filled with Mom and Cassandra's voices from that day weeks ago when they'd planned my eviction. 30 days should be plenty of time for Hazel to find somewhere else. She's resourceful. What if she makes a fuss? About what? We never promised her anything in writing. It was just talk, encouragement to keep her motivated. Their laughter echoed in the silent room. She still believes us. After all these years, she still thinks we actually care about her feelings. Mom lunged across the table, trying to grab the recorder. Turn it off, turn it off. There's more, Carter said, holding the device out of reach. About 40 minutes more, actually. All of it documenting your intent to defraud Hazel of care under false pretenses. Cassandra was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. You don't understand. We need that money. I have debts. Palmer has debts. We were counting on this. You were counting on stealing from someone who loved you, Landon said. Both of you make 6 figures a year. Hazel has nothing. She chose to have nothing, Mom said viciously. She chose to waste her life playing nursemaid instead of building a career. Because you lied to her, Landon shouted. You promised her the house if she took care of Grandma. We never promised anything. It's all on the recording, Palmer, Carter said quietly. Your own words, admitting you lied to keep her motivated. Mom collapsed back into her chair, the fight going out of her. How long? She whispered. How long what? How long did she know? How long was she planning this? I spoke for the first time since we'd sat down. She knew who you really were long before I did, but she hoped you'd prove her wrong. She hoped that when it mattered, you'd actually care about someone other than yourselves. You manipulated her, Cassandra said. You turned her against us. I didn't have to. You did that all by yourselves. Carter began packing up his papers. The house and all assets transfer to Hazel immediately. You have 30 days to remove any personal items you may have left there, by appointment only. As they filed out, Mom stopped at the door. You'll regret this, she said. Family is all you have in the end. No, I said. Love is all you have in the end, and you never gave me any of that. The door closed behind them, leaving just me, Landon, and Carter in the silent room. Well, Carter said, that went about as well as expected. Landon put his arm around my shoulders. You okay? I looked at the recorder still sitting on the table, at the papers that proved 3 years of lies, at the door my parents had just walked through. Ask me in a year, I said. The legal threat started within a week. They're claiming undue influence, Carter told me over the phone. Standard procedure when someone contests a will. Their lawyer is arguing that you manipulated your grandmother while she was in a vulnerable state. Can they prove that? Not with the evidence we have, but they're going to try. Fair warning, this could get nasty. He wasn't kidding. Mom hired the most expensive lawyer in the county, some shark named Davidson who specialized in estate disputes. They filed papers claiming Grandma was mentally incompetent, that I'd isolated her from family, that I coerced her into changing her will. The local newspaper picked up the story. Family feud over inheritance turns ugly, read the headline. They painted me as a gold-digging granddaughter who'd taken advantage of a sick old woman. Don't read the comments, Summer warned when she came over with groceries. People are awful when they don't know the whole story. But I couldn't help myself. Half the comments called me a saint for caring for Grandma. The other half called me a manipulative bitch who deserved nothing. You need to get out of this house, Summer said, finding me scrolling through my phone in the kitchen. This place is becoming toxic. I can't leave. Not yet. Why not? Because leaving felt like admitting I'd done something wrong. because this house was the only thing I had left of Grandma, because I was scared that if I stepped outside, everyone would see the truth, that maybe I was exactly what Mom said I was. The doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw Landon on the porch with a suitcase. "What are you doing here?" I asked, opening the door. "Moving in, temporarily." He pushed past me into the living room. "You shouldn't be alone right now." "I'm fine." "No, you're not. You look like hell, and Mom's been calling everyone we know, telling them her version of what happened." "What's her version?" "That you brainwashed Grandma into hating her own daughter, that you stole money from a confused old woman, that you're a pathetic loser who couldn't make it in the real world, so you decided to become a professional victim." Each word hit like a physical blow. Maybe she's right. "Stop it!" Landon grabbed my shoulders. "Don't you dare let her get in your head. I was there, remember? I saw how they treated you, how they treated Grandma. You did nothing wrong. Then why do I feel so guilty? Because you're a decent person, and decent people don't like hurting others even when those others deserve it." The phone rang. I let it go to voicemail, like I had for the past week. But Landon walked over and hit the speaker button. "Hazel, it's your mother." Mom's voice filled the room, shaky and desperate. "Please call me back. We need to talk. I know you're angry, but we're family. We can work this out. I'm willing to compromise. Maybe we can split the house, sell it, and divide the money. Please, honey, I'm begging you." The message ended. Landon and I stared at each other. "She's broke," he said. "What?" "Think about it. She hired an expensive lawyer. She's been out of work for 2 months since her company downsized, and Dad's business has been struggling. They need that inheritance money." The phone rang again. This time it was Cassandra. "Hazel, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I wanted to apologize. I said some terrible things, and I'm sorry. I was grieving, and I wasn't thinking clearly. Maybe we can meet for coffee, talk this through like adults." "They're panicking," Landon said. "Their lawyer probably told them they don't have a case." He was right. Over the next few days, the calls kept coming. Mom, Cassandra, even Dad tried to reach me. Each message was more desperate than the last. "I heard from Janet Morrison," Summer told me when she stopped by. "You know, Grandma's friend from church? She said people are starting to talk." "About what?" "About how Mom and Cassandra never visited Grandma except when they needed money. About how you were the only one who cared for her. Janet's been telling everyone the real story." "What real story?" "About the loans Grandma gave them. About how they promised to pay her back and never did. About how they left you to handle everything alone for 3 years." The tide was turning. People who'd known Grandma for decades were coming forward with their own stories. The woman who ran the grocery store remembered how Grandma used to worry about money after helping her daughters. The pharmacist recalled how I was always the one picking up her medications, never Mom or Cassandra. "Your mother came to see me yesterday," Mrs. Peterson from down the street told me when I ran into her at the post office. "She wanted to know if I'd be willing to testify that your grandmother seemed confused in her final months." "What did you tell her?" "I told her that Ella was sharp as a tack every time I saw her, and that she was very proud of you for taking such good care of her." Mom's lawyer withdrew from the case 2 weeks later. Carter said it was because they couldn't find any evidence to support their claims, and several witnesses were prepared to testify against them. "It's over," he told me. "The will stands. The house is yours." That night I sat in Grandma's living room surrounded by her things, officially the owner of everything I'd been promised 3 years ago. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I felt empty. The phone rang one last time. Mom's number appeared on the screen. "Hello, Palmer," I said, using her first name deliberately. "Hazel." Her voice was barely a whisper. "I need to ask you something." "What?" "Do you hate me?" I looked around the room at the photos of our family when I was young, when I still believed Mom loved me, at Grandma's chair where she used to sit and tell me stories, at the life I'd built in this house while my parents planned to destroy me. No, I said finally. I don't hate you, but I don't love you either, and I don't trust you, and I never will again. Hazel, please. Goodbye, Palmer. I hung up and turned off the phone. Landon found me there an hour later, sitting in the dark. You okay? He asked. I won, I said. So why doesn't it feel like winning? He sat down beside me. Because winning and being happy aren't the same thing, and because you're not like them. You don't get joy from other people's pain, even when they deserve it, especially then. We sat in silence, two siblings in a house full of ghosts, surrounded by the wreckage of a family that had never really been whole. What happens now? I asked. Now you figure out how to live with what you've done, and you decide whether revenge was worth what it cost. I didn't have an answer for that. I wasn't sure I ever would. The house felt different now that it was officially mine. Not better, not worse, just different, like putting on clothes that fit perfectly but belonged to someone else. I was cleaning out Grandma's bedroom when I found the final letter, tucked inside her jewelry box behind a tangle of costume pearls. My dearest Hazel, if you're reading this, then you've won. But I suspect you don't feel much like celebrating. That's because you have something your mother and aunt never developed, a conscience. I want you to know that everything I did with a clear mind and an open heart, not out of spite, though I won't pretend spite didn't play a part. I did it because you deserved better than what they were planning to give you. But now comes the hard part. You have to decide what kind of person you want to be going forward. You can let this victory turn you bitter, or you can use it as a foundation to build something better. The choice is yours. But remember, the best revenge isn't destroying your enemies, it's living well despite them. All my love. Grandma. P.S. Check behind the loose board in the basement. There's something there that might help you decide. I found the loose board behind the old furnace. Inside was a metal box containing $20,000 in cash and a note. For your fresh start. Don't let them steal your future, too. The doorbell rang as I was staring at the money. Through the window, I saw a woman I didn't recognize, mid-50s, well-dressed, nervous. Can I help you? I asked, opening the door. Are you Hazel? I'm Rebecca Davidson. I think we need to talk. The name clicked. You're related to Mom's lawyer? He's my ex-husband, and he told me some things he probably shouldn't have. She shifted uncomfortably. May I come in? I led her to the living room, curious despite myself. Your mother came to see me last week, Rebecca said. She wanted to hire me to find dirt on you, something to use in the appeal. Well, Dave, did you take the case? No, but not for the reason you might think. She pulled out a manila folder. I did some research first about your family, your grandmother, the whole situation. She opened the folder and spread out papers, bank records, loan documents, newspaper clippings. Your mother and aunt have been running the same scam for 20 years, she said. Not just on your grandmother. They borrowed money from your grandfather's sister, promised to pay it back, never did. She died broke because of them. They took out a loan using your uncle's business as collateral without telling him. He lost everything. I stared at the documents. Why are you telling me this? Because your mother painted you as this manipulative gold digger, but the evidence tells a different story. You're not the villain here. You're just the first person who fought back. What do you want from me? Nothing. I just thought you should know that what you did, it probably saved other people from being their next victims. After she left, I sat with the documents spread across Grandma's dining room table, a pattern of exploitation going back decades, Family members, friends, business partners, anyone who trusted them enough to lend money or offer help. The phone rang, Summer's name on the screen. "Hey," she said, "how are you holding up?" "I found something. Evidence that Mom and Cassandra have been doing this to people for years." "Doing what?" "Taking money, making promises they'd never keep, leaving people broke and betrayed." Summer was quiet for a moment. "What are you going to do with it?" "I don't know." "You could expose them, make it public." "I could. But I'm tired, Summer. I'm tired of fighting, tired of thinking about them, tired of letting them live in my head rent-free." "So what's the alternative?" I looked around Grandma's house, my house now, at the photos on the mantel, the books on the shelves, the life I could build here if I chose to. "I think I want to try something radical," I said. "I want to try being happy." The next morning I called Carter. "I want to set up a trust," I told him. "Something to help people who've been financially exploited by family members. Legal fees, counseling, whatever they need to get back on their feet." "That's a wonderful idea. What made you think of it?" "Someone reminded me that the best revenge is living well." "How much are you thinking of putting into it?" I looked at the cash from Grandma's hiding place, at the house that was now worth $500,000, at the future I could finally start building. "Let's start with 50,000 and see how it goes." Landon found me that afternoon painting the guest bedroom. "You're staying?" he said. It wasn't a question. "For now, maybe permanently. I like it here." "What about Mom and Cassandra?" "What about them? Aren't you worried they'll keep trying to cause problems?" I set down the paintbrush and looked at him. "They can try, but I have something they don't." "What's that?" "Peace of mind and enough money to fight back if I need to." "And if they come crawling back asking for help?" "Then I'll remember what Grandma taught me about the difference between helping someone and enabling them." "Which is?" "Help builds people up. Enabling tears them down. Mom and Cassandra have been enabled their whole lives. Maybe it's time they learned to stand on their own." That evening I sat on Grandma's front porch, my front porch, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. The neighborhood was quiet, peaceful, a good place to start over. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "This is your mother. I know you don't want to talk to me, but I want you to know I'm sorry for everything." I stared at the message for a long time, then I deleted it without responding. Some apologies come too late. Some bridges once burned can't be rebuilt, and sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is accept that and move on. I pulled out Grandma's letter and read it again. "The best revenge isn't destroying your enemies, it's living well despite them." She was right. I had won, but not because I'd hurt them. I'd won because I'd finally learned to value myself enough to demand better. The porch light flickered on automatically as darkness fell. Inside, my house waited, warm, safe, mine. Tomorrow I'd start looking into going back to school, maybe getting that degree I'd always wanted. I'd call old friends, make new ones, build the life I'd put on hold for 3 years. I'd live well, and that I realized was the sweetest victory of all. The phone rang one more time. Summer's name appeared on the screen. "Want some company?" she asked when I answered. "I've got wine and Chinese takeout." "Come on over," I said, smiling for the first time in weeks. "I've got stories to tell." As I hung up, I caught my reflection in the window, tired but determined, scarred but not broken. I looked like someone who'd been through hell and decided to build something beautiful from the ashes. I looked like a survivor, and for the first time since this whole mess started, that felt like enough.